I've always been fascinated by the concept of a lost mine. An underground world where miners once labored in search of the Earth's riches. Its location forgotten, and its entrance sealed off from the modern world. Deep inside, time has no meaning and affects little change, whether it's the passing of a century or a day. Now, we will go in search of just such a forgotten place. A copper mine worked during colonial times. I am preparing to step back in time and rediscover this forgotten underground world.
What kind of progress we got, Mike? We're almost there. I see the top of the arch.
This film uncovers many of the secrets of the first copper miners in the New World. The minerals they found deep in the earth. The artifacts they left behind.
Just amazing.
During my research into colonial-era copper mines, I stumbled upon some clues that led me to this forgotten mine. I learned who operated it, when it was operated, and its general location. Armed with this knowledge and some good geologic maps, I set out to find the lost copper mine. The name and location of this mine will remain a secret. During the mid to late 1600s, English and Dutch settlers were seeking out deposits of gold, silver, lead, and copper throughout the New World. These earliest prospects were small and restricted to mostly surface mining. It wasn't until the 1700s that copper mining in the colonies evolved into a serious industry. There were few copper mines that operated in America during colonial times. Simsbury Mine in Connecticut was the first chartered copper mine in the colonies. It had investors, shareholders, and regular meetings, just like large mining companies do today. There were the rich Dutch copper mines in Quarry, New Jersey, some of the oldest copper mines in the country, dating back to the mid-1600s. The Schuler copper mine in New Jersey was producing a record 22 tons of ore a year in the 1720s. At this mine, an imported English steam engine was used for the first time in America in 1755. For a copper mine to be a successful operation, it needed to have financial backing, not only to pay for its development, but also to hire miners from Europe and pay for their passage to America. The nature in which copper ore is found means a specialized knowledge of underground mining was needed. The technology to blast rock and tunnel underground was not common knowledge among the farming communities where the mines were found. A rich surface outcropping of copper was discovered here in 1711. By November of 1712, Jonathan Belcher, a Boston merchant, took on a lease and began the work of developing the mine. I continued my research by reading the correspondence between Belcher and his partners in regards to the mine. I learned that the town held the mine in such high regard that it exempted all persons in connection with it from military and civil duties as well as taxes. However, due to the Navigation Act passed in the mid-1600s, 1/5 of all ore mined was paid to the King of England. Belcher employed a seasoned English miner named Middleton Shaw to oversee the operation, and brought over a team of miners from England. In 1724, Shaw spent 600 pounds of Belcher's money to get just 6 or 8 tons of ore from this mine. Quite a difficult and costly venture. The ore was then carted to the Connecticut River, where it was put on a schooner and brought to Boston. There it was stored in a warehouse until it could be shipped to England and sold to a refiner as crude ore. Belcher attempted to get the best price from the refiners in England for his ore, but the profit margins were still very small. It seems from lack of mention in his letters that the mine was given up around 1730. Around the same time, Belcher became governor of Massachusetts. My hope was that the earliest 18th century parts of the mine would still be intact and accessible. Despite its location, far back in the thickly wooded hills, I'd found what I think are the remains of the site. On first examination, I was a bit disappointed. There was little evidence of any underground workings. There was a shaft, but it was badly eroded. Near the shaft, I found rocks that were covered in calcite crystals. This is rarely found on the surface, an important clue. And this is where I found the rock with all the crystals. So there's definitely some interesting mineralization going on down there. I only wish that the underground section was accessible. Must be amazing. I found a spot that may have been the entrance to the underground workings. It just appeared as a depression in the ground, but its location made sense in relation to the hillside and the shaft. Horizontal mine entrances, or adits as they are known, are usually shored up with wood supports. This timbering keeps dirt and rock from the hill above from falling down into the entranceway. The wood eventually rots away, and when it does, all the dirt and rock that it has held up for years falls down and seals the entrance. After the mine is abandoned, this wood shoring could rot away in as few as 10 or 20 years. I needed to start digging. My hope was that the adit was sealed like a time capsule, and by digging down through this dirt, we would be able to enter and explore the mine and find the clues to how it was worked. The opening to the mine is likely just large enough to accept a person, maybe 3 feet wide by 5 or 6 feet high. Finding an opening this size would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. I created a tool that could help me figure out if there actually was an opening here or not. I welded a long steel rod onto a drill bit for a powerful cordless drill. On the end of the rod, I welded a cut and bent washer to act as an auger to help the rod bore its way into the dirt. My hope was that this would help me find an open void. I continued to dig down into the dirt in search of solid rock. If I could find the bedrock, I could just follow it down until an opening is exposed. Finally, I hit solid rock, but I went down much farther than I thought I would have to, and no opening was evident. I went down about 6 feet, and I hit the top rock, but no indication of any adits. Went down, even a few feet below, and I also went about 4 feet to the left, and nothing. I continued to use the auger until it plunged into a void. I now knew that I was very close to some sort of opening. This time I enlisted the help of 2 friends. We loaded up all the gear we thought we would need if we were able to get into the mine. We dug down until I started seeing the dirt slipping down and disappearing into a void. I now knew that there was definitely an opening below our feet.
Making it solid again, so now I gotta dig some of that back out. What kind of progress we got, Mike? We're almost there. I see the top of the arch right here. That's solid top rock, sandstone. And I tried pushing the dirt in, but it ended up packing up in there, and now I gotta dig out what I just packed in. So we still have a lot of removal work to do before we can push the dirt in.
The place I chose to dig was precisely the right place, and the perseverance to continue digging had paid off. It was incredible to see the top of an archway expose itself with each and every shovelful of dirt. I used the auger to enlarge the hole, just big enough for a person to squeeze in.
We want to make sure that since this has been closed for over 100 years, that there's oxygen in the farther reaches of the mine. So this should do just the trick.
We lit a flame safety lamp, which indicates the presence of oxygen with a small flame.
So after I get in, pass me the shovel and I'll dig it wide open. Then I'll probably come out.
Smaller one or the bigger one?
Finally, the time came to enter the mine.
Okay, I'm going in. Oh, it's real tight actually. Almost. Hopefully my head won't jam. Yeah, I mean, it goes back for as far as my lamp can shine.
I immediately noticed perfectly intact wood shoring on the ceiling of the tunnel, and pickaxe marks on the tunnel walls.
Got it.
I began to dig the entrance from the inside to enlarge the passage.
God, I've never seen timbering like that before in one of these real old mines. That's incredible. It's very dry in here. Unusually dry. Usually these things have some water at the entrance. This one just doesn't.
There were no footprints on the floor, and I got the sense that this truly was the untouched site we had hoped for.
This is amazing. I can't believe how clean it is in here, really. And how small it is.
We began to make our way down the tunnel. It was slightly less than 6 feet tall in places. I had to duck to avoid bumping my helmet on the ceiling.
Oh, it looks like we're coming up to a intersection.
This was the point where the tunnel crossed the vein of copper ore.
Oh my god, there's a hinge on the floor. Like a 1700s hinge. God, there's a hasp on the floor. I'm getting goosebumps right now. I'm getting goosebumps. There's a I don't even want to walk over this because I don't want to disturb the floor. See the hasp?
This is the remains of a door that closed off the small tunnel to the right.
Yeah, there's some kind of old door here. I wonder if that's where the hinges came from.
This tunnel must have been used for storing something valuable, as the hasp was installed so that the door could be locked. The hinges and hasp are the type that were commonly used throughout the 1700s. They are hand-forged, not mass-produced. Along with the hinges, I found hand-forged nails, known as rosehead nails. These were commonly used in the 1700s and fell out of use in the early 1800s when mass-produced cut nails were made available. Inside the storage niche, I found a small pry bar-like tool. I've never seen this type of tool before. I noticed that the wood had vertical saw marks on it, an indication that it was sawn on a pit saw or an up and down sawmill. There was no evidence of circular saw marks, which was common after about 1830. This only proves that the timber was likely of a pre-1830 date.
What I want to do, I don't want to disturb any of these artifacts, so what I want to do, Dave, is we'll step from like where I am here onto that rock.
We peered down the tunnel to the left. It seemed to carry on for some distance, but I decided to continue straight.
This is one of the best preserved mines I've ever been in.
This large diameter pipe was constructed of sheet iron and riveted together. It was wrapped in strips of cloth, where it apparently had cracked. It was not obvious what this section of pipe was used for, but possibly ventilation. After continuing down the tunnel, we made an even more interesting discovery. The last miner that worked the mine had left his set of tools leaning up against a rock on the side of the tunnel.
So there's a drill and sledgehammer sitting right there. Not kidding.
Yes, there is.
Just as it was.
Mark, can you hear? There's a drill and a sledgehammer here.
Just sitting there. Not kidding.
The tools included a drill steel, sledgehammer head, and mud spoon. This was just the find we were looking for. The drill steel is a long chisel-like tool. It is struck by a sledgehammer to chip the rock, and then turned about 10 degrees, struck again, and then the action repeated. The result is a hole bored into the hard rock. Once a depth of about 2 feet is reached, the hole is cleaned out using the mud spoon and is charged with gunpowder. The powder is compacted, a fuse is inserted, and the hole plugged with a wooden plug or dense clay. When the charge is fired, the surrounding rock will fracture and fall.
Oh, look at the quartz vein.
Not far from the tools, the tunnel crossed a few small quartz veins.
I haven't seen any of those crystals yet, though.
No.
That's the end. I really thought this would connect with the shaft. Weird.
We returned to the intersection and proceeded deeper into the mine.
All right, let's go down that side tunnel.
We found a piece of cloth left on the side of the tunnel, still pliable after all these years. We saw the marks left by the drill steel, where the miner had bored holes in the rock and blasted it with gunpowder.
Look at this. This is
Nice.
This is beautiful. It's like a. It's almost like an abstract painting.
Finally, we reached the part of the mine where the copper ore was found. This is called the stope.
This looks like a false floor.
Right.
See the wood? I'd be really careful here.
There was green staining on the walls, and an abundance of quartz and calcite crystals in which the copper was found.
Wow.
We could still see a few small pieces of the raw copper in the calcite crystals on the wall. This is exactly what the miners were extracting, small quantities of high-grade copper ore. Once the ore was blasted, it could be shoveled up and sorted. Ore that was 25 to 30% pure was put into barrels and shipped to England for processing. At the end of the stope, there was loose tailings blocking our way. This must have been where the shaft that we saw from the surface met the underground workings. The tailings must have fallen from above and poured into the underground stope.
All right, this is what I thought would happen.
Built from the top?
Yep. Darn, that means we can't get any further.
This blockage prevents us from any further exploration of the mine. It is possible that the mine continues past the shaft, even deeper into the hillside, but we will never know without more digging from inside. After seeing the mine, tools, and tool marks on the walls, I now have a pretty good idea of what it would take to mine copper in the 1700s.
Incredible. Just amazing.
We were able to uncover a long-forgotten copper mine dating back to colonial times. We found the tools left in the mine that were used when it was worked. We found saw marks on the wood, as well as iron hinges and nails, which helped us verify the early date of the mine. We observed the tool marks in the walls and ceiling of the tunnels, which give us an idea of how the tools were used. We found some small pieces of the copper ore, the very same ore that the miners were after in larger quantities. Mining during colonial times was hard, tedious work. It required skilled labor to remove the ore from underground. It required financiers like Belcher, who were willing to take a risk with their personal wealth. Even after all this, the ore had to be shipped across the Atlantic to England with no guarantee of profit. Despite these hardships, mining had taken hold in the colonies, and would later go on to provide the raw materials to help win wars and fuel the Industrial Revolution. The story of mining in America can be traced directly back to the adventurous men who sought the mineral riches deep in this no longer forgotten, lost mine.